Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of The Right Way to HSA, where we talk about all things health savings account and retirement. My name is Neeraj Mathur, and I'm the founder and CEO of Savings Oak, where we are building the next gen investments focused retirement savings platform. We are very excited to have Luke Aslesen, the Vice President of Employee Benefits at Christensen Group Insurance, join us today and talk a little bit about his retirement focus, how he looks at things from an employee benefit standpoint, and most importantly, learn a few or more things about how to bring your employees engaged, particularly in this age of the great resignation. With that, Luke, welcome. Would you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here. This is really fun. There's not a ton of people that I get to talk about benefits and HSAs and just kind of nerd out. So I've met my counterpart in Niraj, and that's really fun. So about me, I've been in the employee benefit space for about 5 years. If you would have told me I was going to be doing this 5 years ago, I'd say there's no way. But got into it and really discovered a passion for helping people, helping businesses. Employee benefits is a really expensive line item for most groups. And to just be able to serve as an extension of somebody's team and control the cost, get creative has been really fun for me. So I've been doing it for 5 years. I specialize mostly in the large group space, 50 and more employees, but working on creative strategy, cost containment, engagement, education, that kind of stuff. I'm kind of an educator, not by trade, but by passion. And it's fun getting those light bulb moments when it comes to insurance and employee benefits.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's what's fascinating is to find that so many of us are so deeply passionate about the topic of benefits, where a lot of other people are like, oh, that's for somebody else to deal with, and we're trying to do the right thing. Can you share a little bit about what you do at the Christensen Group Insurance? And you mentioned about working with a larger groups, 50 and above people, and how has your journey been in what you have seen in the last few years, particularly around the employee benefit space?
Yeah. I work, my job is to work with companies to build out their entire employee benefits platform. So we're talking medical insurance, dental, vision, disability, life insurance, all of those things. Most companies have what's called an employee benefits package. And in order to have that, you need to go through a broker. And I serve as that broker. So any company that wants to put together an employee benefits program, that is what I do. The companies can't just go directly to like Blue Cross or United Health Group. They have to use a broker, and that's where I come in to manage all this stuff. I'd say mostly the educational and engagement piece is very near and dear to my heart. But what I've been seeing, Niraj, in the space is that there's kind of this really soft underbelly of insurance. And what I mean is people don't understand what health insurance is. They don't understand benefits really at all. This is kind of a shocking statistic. 96% of people, 96% of people cannot accurately define copay, coinsurance, deductible, and out-of-pocket max. Those are like the easiest things and the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to health insurance, and people just don't get it. And it's no fault of their own. It's just that nobody has taken the time to educate them. Healthcare, especially in America, is so complicated, it's so convoluted. And throw in the fact that we're advertised to all day, every day. We just deal with a lot of apathy. So I'm really focusing on engaging people and educating people on how healthcare works, on how their healthcare works, because then and only then, I believe, can you become a wise consumer of healthcare. We try to go directly to getting people to be wise consumers of healthcare, but forget that they need to be educated. If I told you something about moon rocks, right? We'll just use an example. If right now I said, hey, Niraj, moon rocks weigh 10 times as much as an earth rock, but they're twice as light. And then I said, a year from now, hey, Niraj, remember what I told you about moon rocks last year? You'd probably be like, it was something about like weight and gravity and whatnot. And that's how we deal with insurance. We expect people to understand it by talking to them about it once a year. So anyway, I obviously get very passionate about this. So that's really what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm addressing in my specific role with these companies.
Awesome. That is so music to my ears. And I often joke with about this that the only time you think about your healthcare benefits, particularly, is the last day of the 30 days that you're given when it's a new job, or
Yeah,
the
yep.
last 24 hours of when it's the enrollment period,
Yes,
because
yes.
nobody else is paying attention to it. That's a great point.
Yep.
Um,
Agreed.
Given that what you're doing and how you've seen a lot of this sort of apathy, as you called it, towards not just the education part, but people like, yeah, it's just something I need to do. Let me get on with my day job because I'll deal with this later. Uh, how has that changed the perspective that you bring now to the people, particularly in this era of great resignation? And are there some things that you all have done in the last 6, 9, 12 months that are different from what was going on prior to raise the bar of awareness around benefits offered to people?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot there. I think there's two different people that two different markets that we need to engage. We need to engage employers, right? Because the Great Resignation, quiet quitting, you've got this real lack of engagement with people. And on top of that, over the last 12 months, people are leaving their current job and jumping ship for a 25% pay raise, 50% pay raise. So you have a lot of employers that are like, oh my gosh, how do I keep my people? How the heck do I keep my people? Because the only thing that seems to be working is throwing a bunch of money at them. So there's that issue. But then on the employee side, there's just this lack of care. What employees unfortunately see is when their employer is not engaging them on the benefits, they just view it as this isn't really a benefit. This is just something they do. So I'm kind of a statistics guy, so stick with me when I quote things a lot. But uh, employees who speed read or speed through their employee benefits onboarding are 55% more likely to leave their current job in the coming year. So we've kind of got this weird thing going where a lot of employers spend so much time, money, and energy on benefits. So they expect their employees to think, well, yeah, of course, they're spending so much money. But then you've got all these employees that are like, I don't understand this stuff at all. My employer clearly doesn't care about me. They're not doing anything with benefits. And it's like, no, that's not true. So we've got this really big disconnect between these two groups of people. So with the employers, we really focus on, hey, this is so much more than just a woo-woo fluffy feeling of making your employees feel good. You're already spending literally, Neeraj, millions of dollars a year on a benefits plan. Millions of dollars. Only to have your employees say, whatever, not really that important. I don't really get it. That kind of thing. So just getting employees to understand the importance of it, but also how much money and time and energy gets put into it. But also employers saying, hey, this can't just be a line item. We have to engage people with it. To me, it's mostly just ships in the night. I think employers and employees are missing each other. No one's trying to be malicious, but employers are doing this thing, putting out a benefits plan, thinking it's really great, which it is, but when that doesn't get communicated effectively to the employees, you may as well set the pile of money on fire, is really what I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's a great point. And to piggyback on that comment, when you, in the last, say, just 6, I mean, we're in the enrollment period right now, what have been some of the top concerns that you've seen from employers reaching out to you to put these packages together for their employees, particularly around employee benefits and healthcare costs or healthcare benefits in particular?
Yeah, I think the obvious one is cost. Everybody is upset with how expensive this is and how it continues to get more and more expensive. And I think what employers think is that there's some sort of silver bullet out there that exists, and it doesn't. We as brokers, we're not just sitting on this golden opportunity or this golden idea that's going to cut cost. It just does not exist. So what I've been telling people is, hey, if we're going to affect change, It's like anything else in life. You got to build a relationship with your buyer. You have to engage people over the long term. It's hard to get an employer to understand that, because who the heck wants to put in 2 or 3 years of time engaging somebody, right? It's very hard to see an immediate impact. But that really is the only way you're going to be able to bend the cost curve. When you have a long-term investment into into the engagement of your people, truly. Like there's no other way to do it. There's no quick fix. So I'd say, to answer your question, it's teaching employers, teaching employees, hey, this takes a long time. If we're going to get to this point, we need to have systems in place, and we need to just stick to them. We got to be patient, and we got to be diligent if we're going to see any sort of change. So there's the cost piece of it. But frankly, there's also just the human aspect of it. These employers that have benefits plans, especially HR directors in particular, they want to engage their people. They love people. It's literally their title, director of humans, right? So it's having the conversation and saying, hey, we got to work on engaging your people in a real human way. And something about the way we're doing it right now is just not working. So it's fun to have the conversation with engaged buyers and engaged leadership teams. But I'd say for employers, it's the cost piece, but also the, hey, we're spending all this money on this stuff, and we're doing it to serve our people. How do we get them to get it? So I don't know if that answered the question, but if it didn't, clarify, and I'll go down a different rabbit hole.
No, this is great. I think there's so many different aspects to it. I think the one is engagement. What we hear often is about engagement, or from an employer standpoint, comes down to, I offered this, to your point about millions of dollars or several hundred thousand in the case of SMBs and whatnot. And it's about adoption, and it's about utilization. And then sometimes throwing arms up in the air, kind of wondering, I offered this awesome stuff, however, did not seek people fully grasping it or fully
Sure.
utilizing it, which often boils down to, well, they fully didn't understand what it was, so they didn't adopt it, and therefore the utilization isn't there. So good
Yeah.
points. Um, Changing topics a little bit and kind of narrowing it down to our topic of engagement and how to do it better. You talked about engaging with the employees on a human level for both sides, employers as well as employees. Are
Mm-hmm.
there any specific programs or trends you've seen that folks around you or some other players in the space have done, which you found, okay, this is really a good way to actually bring more people awareness and therefore leading to adoption and utilization?
Yeah, it's slowly starting to happen. I'll say that. I think, well, I know that the space has remained relatively the same for a really long time. When I go into an open enrollment meeting with groups, I literally say this. I'm like, hey, listen, I understand exactly how you're expecting this to go. The insurance guy comes in, he talks at you, you don't understand what the heck he's saying, you leave the meeting dumber than when you showed up, and you only cared about one thing: is my cost going up or down, right? That is truly, Niraj, how this has gone for the last 20, 30 years, and it still does, right? So I think I like to peel things back to just basic human biology and just human nature, right? We are bombarded with information all day, every day, right? So if we expect people to engage HSAs, benefits, FSAs, all of that stuff, we may as well not even start, really, because nobody is going to actively pursue this stuff, pursue engagement and knowledge there, unless they have to, unless their kid has a 103-degree temperature and it's 2 in the morning, unless they got a cancer diagnosis, right? Really like hard things, that's when you choose to engage, but nobody does on the front end. So what I've learned is that just owning the conversation and owning the outreach goes a really long way. Hey, if people aren't going to come to us, we're going to go to them. We're going to send emails once a month. We're going to create content and send it. We're going to create engaging content that people will actually watch. This business is mired in white papers, right? Everybody would rather type about something than create a video or create some good content. So creating engaging stuff, right? Frankly, I fault us as the broker community for kind of being asleep at the wheel here and just not meeting people where they're at and saying, these people got to understand it. We as a community need to get creative so that we can actually drive engagement. So frankly, I think it's just, how do we reach out to people? How do we be humble and realize that people don't really care about this and they're not going to go after it? You know, they're not going to toggle between Facebook and benefits information, right? It's just not going to happen. So how do we be humble, recognize what we do, but then create really compelling stuff and send it out? Just get it front of mind. Put stuff in their mailers. Send things via email. Send things via text message. And just make it fun, right? I know it probably sounds silly to say you can make insurance fun, but I found that people want to learn about this stuff, Neeraj. They just don't have a whole lot of willing people that will teach them about it.
I think that you made a very good point about meeting people where they're at. Also, go where they, go to them if they don't come. One of the other things we've learned and we hear is talking at people or teaching them as if they need to be taught something new. It's on the side of helping them learn that this is already available to you. This is just a raising the bar, like, aha, I already have this. Well, how does it benefit me? So the whole notion of what's in it for me, that needs to be brought on, right? So if the benefits are all about me from an employee standpoint, then put me in the center of it rather than the vendors and the employers and the other folks around. So then it's coming from my perspective. So,
There's this. There seems to be this really big lack of trust as well. One of my really close friends. He works at a 30,000 person company, and he said they put this planned selection tool in place one year, and as he was using it, the only thing he could think is, they're steering me towards something that's going to be beneficial for them. They're not truly helping me make the best decision for me. They're trying to save money. They're trying to have me go with the low cost option. They're trying to manipulate me, whatever. So yeah, just distrust in the system, right? And getting people to actually trust somebody that's delivering the information. But then, like you said, having people, it's one thing to say, hey, you need this, but you don't have it. It's a totally different thing saying, hey, you need this, but you also have it. You just haven't really learned about it quite yet, to your point.
Yeah, it's a good way to segue also into talking about retirement. What have you seen as some of the interesting ways? I know 401ks have been around a lot, but narrowing it down to from a health savings account or HSA's perspective, they fall right there where there's lots of people have it. We actually learned very recently that over 50% of people who have high deductible health plans are not even aware that they can open a health savings account. When did you learn about HSAs, and what was the biggest surprise for you as you learned more about them?
Yeah, I mean, my jaw shouldn't drop, frankly. I only learned about it once I got into this space, right? I didn't know they were a thing. No one had ever told me about it. I was kind of like everybody else, just, well, I know I need to have health insurance, so why not elect it? But anything further, I didn't do. Not because I knew about it, like you said, but I just didn't know. So one of the things when it comes to the retirement piece of it and HSAs, frankly, I love talking about HSAs. I sound like a total nerd when I'm doing these meetings and talking to people. But here's what I do. I stand in front of people when I'm doing open enrollment or doing a webinar or anything, and I say this. Who has never spent a dime on healthcare in their whole life? By show of hands. Anybody? Not a single hand goes up. So I'm like, okay, so now we have a fact. The fact is you are going to spend money on healthcare. Either you already have, or you're going to in the future, or you currently are, right? This is a fact, it's not an opinion. When we deal with that fact, we have two choices. You can either save for the rainy day, or when that disaster strikes, which we know it will, big or small, You can put it on the credit card. You can dip into your savings. You can rob Peter to pay Paul, talk to family, start a GoFundMe, all uncomfortable things, right? So you do really have two choices. And guess what? No matter what you do, it doesn't affect me. I would love for you to open an HSA. I'd love for you to be financially savvy, but rest assured, if you hear it from nobody else, this guy's telling you, you're going to deal with this. It's going to cost you money at some point, and you've either saved for that rainy day or you have not. And when I say that to people, I see these light bulbs go off because they're like, oh my gosh, right? So educating people there and getting them to do it. But frankly, with HSAs, I'm going to kind of shift gears here too. I'm like, they're kind of the Wild West. You can invest the money that's in there. You can put, 3,500, $4,000 in there a year if you're a single, double that if you're a family. And then you've got this, it's never fun to save money, but dang, are you going to be happy when that disaster strikes and you've got the money saved up, if that answered the question.
Yeah, no, it did. And that, I think there is another portion of that. One of the surprises a lot of people get, again, over 70% people who have a HSA opened and have some money in it don't know that they can invest those dollars. So that's the other bit that we find like, wait, wow, but here we are, we're dealing with it, going about awareness and what those things are for people. A couple more things on HSAs, if you will. You mentioned about you like them. I'm sure it's in the family and investment and all those things are there. The next bit that comes on is when you are looking at what are some of the key things that you learned besides the investment part, and then is there anything else that stands out that you've heard from people they were not aware of when you shared with them?
Yeah. There's a few things. The first thing is people don't realize that it's a tax vehicle. They really don't. When I say the money goes in pre-tax and it comes out without being taxed, they're like, wait, really? I'm like, yeah, you pay zero taxes, right? So the $1,000, I mean, you're literally costing yourself money by not putting money into an HSA. And they just have never thought about that, again, because nobody's told them. So there's that piece of it. There's no use it or lose it. Right? A lot of people that have put any sort of pre-tax money away, they're usually used to an FSA, and they're like, oh, I have to calculate, if I'm going to use $2,000, I have to use it or else it's going to go away. And that just is kind of stressful and complicated. And then I'm like, hey, you could max this thing out. You could put $3,000 in there, $3,700 every year, and sit on it for the next 30 years. And then I'm like, I literally know people that have $30,000 or $40,000 in their HSA accounts because there's no use it or lose it stipulation. And you can pay for your Medicare premiums and stuff down the road, right? The investment piece of it is another big one. And the fact that it's portable, that's another big one. People are like, well, Luke, what if I put all this money into the account and then I leave my job? Well, they don't know that they get to keep it and that it's fully portable, meaning you get to take it with you. So it almost sounds too good to be true, right? It's like you're putting all this money away. You can invest it in the market. There's no use it or lose it stipulation. Like, what's the catch? And I'm like, hey, there is no catch. So make hay while the sun is shining, because I can't promise it's always going to be like this. But right now, it's a pretty great idea to get in the game.
Yeah, that's a great one. And one other one that I would add to this is for anyone who's ever used an HSA and didn't know this, we keep sharing this bit, is as long as you have your receipts, you can expense that money back to you anytime in the future. You just have to see the receipts, and you should be looking at effective ways of being able to save those receipts. Some are inbuilt into product offerings. Some may just be you actually having a good mechanism, but look for products that offer you those capabilities. So
yeah,
cool. Hey, Luke, this has been amazing for us to talk to you about. If you go back, you said you've got into benefits, say, 5 years or more, about thereabouts. If you go back to maybe 7, 8, 10 years back in your career, what is some advice about retirement or HSAs that you would give to your younger self that somebody who's young and watching right now might want to take away from this?
Oh, wow. That's a really, really great question. I would say just get in the game. I think we make the mistake of saying, I can't save money. I don't have the money, especially right now in the economic environment, right? Money is so tight, and people are like, I can't invest any money. And what I say to that is, you can. You could put $5 a month. You could put $10. You could put $20 a month. Don't look at the amount of money that is possible. Don't look at the $3,700 maximum. Start small. It's like anything else in life. Start small before you go big. And even that 20 bucks a month, I mean, that's going to be, almost $300 in your account every single year. So, yeah, if I were giving advice to a younger Luke, I would say, hey, you may think that you don't have any money, but you do, even if it's a small amount like $5 or $10, because now you've built the habit in your head. You've got the payroll deduct coming out, and then you're like, oh, I can see the account balance grow. Maybe I'll do $20 next year. Maybe I'll do $40 the year after. So just get in the game, start investing early.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that, Luke. We really appreciate all the insights. And that's it for another edition of The Right Way to HSA. We are here every week on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us at savingsoak.com under the Contact Us tab, or any one of the HSA specialists will get back to you. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the afternoon.
Yeah.